Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are so glad you could join us today.
Mm.
Our mission for this one is, well, it's pretty profound. We're exploring a really thought-provoking philosophical text.
Yeah, it's definitely one that sticks with you.
It really does. So it's from September 14, 2009, written by Shuofeng and translated by Qinyu. And the title itself is quite a hook. It's called The Heart of Comparison is the Heart of Malice.
Right, which is just such a striking title.
Exactly. And the central premise of the text is basically that jealousy isn't just some fleeting emotion. It's actually a reflection of the ugliness within the human heart. And the absolute root of this jealousy is our tendency to compare ourselves to others.
Right, and to set the tone for today, the goal of this deep dive is really to examine how this single habit, just comparing ourselves to our peers, might actually be the unseen source of our deepest anxieties.
That's cooler.
And more importantly, we're going to look at how this text suggests we can actually break free from it.
I mean, we all do it, right? We all have that invisible measuring tape. But before we get into exactly why comparison is so damaging, we really need to understand how the author categorizes it.
Yeah, the framework here is super specific.
Right, so the text references this overarching framework called the 800 Values for New Era Human Beings. And specifically, we're looking at the deity's second value today.
Which is fascinating because of how it divides things up.
It really is. It outlines 108 aspects of good in human nature and 108 aspects of evil, and comparing oneself to others. That is explicitly classified as a form of evil.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy label.
Okay, let's unpack this because, I mean, is comparison really an evil?
It sounds extreme at first, I know.
It does, because isn't it just like a natural human instinct? We use it for motivation, for survival. Like in business and sports, you kind of need it, right?
Well, see, that's exactly where the text pushes back. It doesn't view comparison as a motivational tool at all. It views it as the literal birth of malice. Yeah. The text points out that this behavior is actually rooted in a fundamental lack of confidence. It's a lack of inner richness.
So it's not about drive, it's about a void.
Exactly.
Huh.
It's a chaotic mind that fundamentally misunderstands universal principles and, well, life's true purpose. When you're constantly looking sideways, you're missing the point of your own existence.
That makes a lot of sense. So if humans are the ones making this massive error, what happens if we look outside of ourselves? Because the author uses the natural world as basically the ultimate counter-argument to this whole human comparison thing.
Oh, the nature metaphors in this piece are just beautiful.
They really are. The author just gives this masterclass using these specific poetic pairings to show that other life forms, the ones created by the greatest creator, they never engage in comparison.
Right, they just remain completely content in their roles.
Exactly. I'm just going to list a few of these because they're so striking. So the text says the humble ecnathrum never compares itself to the sensitive mimosa.
Which are completely different plants, yeah.
Right. The orchid doesn't compete with the peony. Bamboo doesn't measure itself against cedar. Grapes do not envy peaches.
I love that one. Grapes and peaches just doing their own thing.
Just being fruit. And it goes into the animal kingdom, too. Sparrows don't compare themselves with wild geese. Antelopes don't measure themselves against zebras. Field mice don't envy elephants. And bees do not vie with butterflies.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. It reminds me of the text's later mention of a grand symphony. Like, nature is this massive orchestra, and the flute isn't sitting there jealous of the tuba.
Right. They aren't fighting for the same sound.
No, they just play their distinct parts to create the music.
What's fascinating here is the author's conclusion about all of this. It's precisely because flora and fauna do not compare that the world is so rich and diverse and beautiful.
They aren't trying to homogenize themselves.
Exactly. Only humans indulge in this toxic habit of looking at the plant next to them and thinking, I should be more like that.
And having established that nature thrives without comparison, the text then moves into the direct consequences of humans breaking this natural rule, because there's a serious fallout.
There really is. It creates this illusion of superiority and inferiority.
Yes. The text asserts that comparison always forces a false binary. You're never just equals in your own heads. You either feel inferior, which the author says leads to shame and insincerity.
Because you're constantly trying to hide your perceived flaws.
Right, you're faking it. Or, on the other end, you feel superior, which just leads to arrogance and the suppression of others.
Both of which are terrible states of mind to live in.
Terrible. And it just breeds conflict, pain, jealousy, regret, and resentment. It's a complete mess. But then the author breaks down how we should view our differences, and again, it's just super poetic.
It's all about contrasting lifestyles without judging them,
That's
right?
exactly. It's
Yeah.
about removing the measuring stick. So the text contrasts these things directly. It says, your grand symphony versus my humble serenade. Your broad road versus my narrow bridge. Your brilliance versus my charm. Your elegance versus my grace.
Notice how none of those make the other one seem bad.
Right? They're just different. That
Yeah.
goes on. Your five-star hotels versus my cozy cottage. And then it hits the really societal ones. Your degrees, fame, status, power, wealth, and beauty versus my simplicity, tranquility, peace, health, minimalism, and ordinariness.
Wow. That really covers everything we stress out about, doesn't
It hits every single anxiety. And the last one is your splendid thriving versus my joy and nature's serenity.
I think what's so powerful about that list is the loss of inner peace it highlights. Because the author points out that once the heart of comparison arises, we suffer from trouble from nothing.
Trouble from nothing. I love that phrase.
Right, and disasters within. We
Mhm.
become completely obsessed with wealth and status and anguished over poverty. It basically makes true peace completely impossible to attain.
And it's one thing to ruin our own peace of mind, right? Like if I want to make myself miserable, that's on me. But the text takes this really dark turn into the collateral damage this inflicts on everyone else around us.
Yeah, it doesn't just stay in your own head.
It doesn't. The heart of comparison leads to self-destruction and inner turmoil, sure, but then that forces the people who care for us into these completely needless struggles.
We drag them right into it.
We do. It leads to open and hidden battles and sometimes even what the author calls desperate measures, just to satisfy our own unhealthy desires to look good compared to someone else.
So we're hurting the people we love just to win a game that doesn't matter.
Exactly. So for you listening, I have to ask, how many sleepless nights have you endured? Or, how many precious years of your life have you wasted chasing totally superfluous things just to keep up with someone else?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the author's pragmatic realization here. The game of comparison is mathematically impossible to win.
Wait, explain that. Mathematically impossible.
Well, think about it. There will always be someone who surpasses you.
Right. There's always someone richer.
Richer, better looking, more successful, higher status, more talented. It never ends. Life is simply too short to endlessly compare yourself to a horizon that keeps moving. Therefore, the logic is you just simply have to stop.
You have to step off the track.
Exactly.
And the text uses these incredible vivid idioms to describe this futile struggle. It says we shouldn't force a duck to perch in a tree.
I mean, a duck in a tree is just, it's absurd.
It's absurd. And we shouldn't push ourselves to face the tiger on the mountain. Like, why are you doing that to yourself?
Right. Why are you risking everything just to prove a point to someone who probably isn't even looking?
Exactly. So if the game is rigged and comparison is a trap, how does the author suggest we actually live? Because it's one thing to diagnose the disease, but what's the cure?
The cure is all about radical acceptance.
Yeah. We must acknowledge that heaven ordains our birth and our growth. And the advice is incredibly simple. We should just take things as they come.
Which sounds easy, but it's probably the hardest thing to actually do.
Oh, for sure. But the author brings it right back to those nature metaphors from the beginning to build this sort of personal philosophy.
Oh, I really love this part of the text.
Me too. It says, if I am grass, I will grow a few green leaves.
How simple is that?
If I am a flower, I will bloom with a few buds. If I am a willow, I will sway gently. And if I am an apricot, I will bear some fruit.
It's so grounding. And the author actually has a really sharp dismissal for anyone who refuses to learn this lesson.
Oh yeah, they don't hold back.
Not at all. The text literally says, let the foolish and ignorant continue to compare.
Just let them run the rat race.
Exactly. Because true fulfillment, according to this philosophy, comes from just following your own path of fate. That is what brings us closer to what the author calls a celestial life.
A celestial life. I love that. So just to wrap all this up, the ultimate mantra from this text, the thing we really want you to take away today is this. A day of peace is a day of divinity.
That is just, it's perfect.
True inner richness comes from just throwing away the measuring stick.
Yeah.
You just need to tend to your own garden, whether you're an apricot tree, a willow, or just a blade of grass growing a few green leaves.
So to leave you with a final thought to ponder on your own,
Yeah.
if you were to instantly erase every single goal, desire, or ambition in your life that was secretly born from comparing yourself to someone else, what would actually be left?
Wow.
And more importantly, who would you become with the things that remain?